ground rules, I just want to notify the audience that we do have some guests here. We're celebrating Social Work Month, and around 7 o'clock or so, we will break through community to recognize our guests that we have here. And that will take a few moments, and we'll go back to the community meeting. Dr. Grant?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Superintendent, members of the board, and our community. Our March 5th, 2012 community meeting. Ground rules. Each person that desires to address the board should have signed up between 5 and 5:50. This is not the forum for personnel issues, so we do ask that you respectfully refrain from calling individuals' names. We have 52 people that have signed up this evening, so we do ask in the essence of allowing everyone to make a comment, that if your comment has been made, we ask that you respectfully pass, since your comment has already been registered. I'll call the first person, and then I will also call the person who follows that individual to take a seat on the side. The first person is Moshe Hasper, and Hasper will be followed by Kieran Bowman.
Good evening. Moshe Haspel, political scientist, GIS professional, public policy analyst at APS Parent 2. I have very mixed feelings about the leadership team proposal. On one hand, I'm very glad that some of the things that I and others have been asking for have found their way into the plan. Springdale Park has at least a chance of keeping its current boundaries, allowing the parents who made the school the fantastic place it is today to enjoy the fruits of their labor. The error of excluding Hope Hill from the Inman cluster has been addressed, and now that I've seen the maps that were released this afternoon, I also see that Cook would be split among its neighboring schools so that Hope Hill would not have to shoulder the entire burden of absorbing the school. On the other hand, I'm very disturbed by the part of the plan that proposes to close Cone Middle. Two quick caveats. Although I work at Emory and at the office that is responsible for graduation generation, I'm not involved in the day-to-day operations of that program, although I do assist them quite often with planning and data issues, and I'm not acting as a representative of Emory tonight. But because of these roles, I'm acquainted with the great progress that has been made at Cone, and I'm very bullish on the role that that school is beginning to play in the Edgewood neighborhood. And I therefore question the least of what's spurring the investment that Emory, Zeist, and others have been making in that neighborhood, and have concerns about the signals that it would send to other private or nonprofit organizations interested in pitching in and advising schools in the future. The maps that I've provided to you that were just handed out are a bit out of date today already, because they were prepared on the basis of the information released last night and not on the maps that were released this afternoon. However, the main point, yes, sir? Two maps. However, the main points remain valid. Inman and Cone are not exactly near each other, about 2.5 miles apart as the crow flies, much farther if you travel over the roads. You have kids living within walking distance of Cone, getting shipped fairly long distances to King, crossing over highways in the process. Add to that the traffic oddities of the area. There really aren't a lot of good ways to get from most parts of the Inman cluster to Cone. A few railroad crossings, extremely congested Moreland Avenue. It's really a tough plan. The second map centers on the old Howard High School building with a few concentric circles around it, 1, 2, and 3 miles, plus also 2.5, the exact same distance as between Inman and Cone. With its central location, Howard will be an ideal spot for a magnet middle school, preferably a STEM magnet. Why a magnet and not a system academy, you ask? Choice, simply put. People can opt in, and I believe enough people would opt in to relieve sufficient pressure at Inman that you could actually implement the other things that you've been talking about. Frankly, the less you restrict people's choices, the more likely they are to remain in the system, and I believe that that is one of the stated goals, is to keep people in the system through middle and high school. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bowman? Oh, Ms. Bowman, I'm sorry. I gave him the chair. I thought you were over there. Ms. Bowman will be followed by Ashley Mitchell.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of a significant group of parents and neighbors in the Jackson and Sarah Smith school districts who have been fairly silent but still is concerned with the issues. Just recently, more people have started realizing what's happening at the middle school level. Many parents at Jackson and Sarah Smith were shocked with the most recent recommendations because they didn't even realize we may actually lose our neighborhood school altogether. Right now, you're proposing to basically close the current Sutton and move everyone to North Atlanta and let an elementary school come in from another district to use our neighborhood school for 2 years. Then what will happen after the 2 years? You mentioned the possible 6th grade annex, but not the 2 middle school possibility that the demographers recommended. Just last week, Sarah Smith decided to step up and do a community survey which came out in favor of 2 middle schools. They wrote naps into coalition saying they were not part of their pact because that's not what their community wanted. The Jackson community does not want that either. 100% of the people I've talked to, besides our PTA president, and that's a whole other story, say they prefer 2 middle schools. Also, a lot of people say that when they filled out the surveys, they just put what the PTA presidents told them, and now they're sorry they did. The current Sutton campus is right in the middle of our neighborhood, and North Atlanta is right in the middle of another neighborhood. It just makes sense to have 2 community middle schools. Right now, Sutton starts at 9 a.m. already because of busing. What will happen when busing to 2 campuses 4 miles apart? There are just so many logistics to be considered here. Sharing staff, one principal, siblings, etc., etc., etc. How would this work? How would this work? I don't see any real solid benefits demographically, emotionally, economically, environmentally for a 6th grade annex. Also, it's concerning that our community school will be taken away from our 7th and 8th graders at this point. They will be the ones passing their schools to go to another one. If this is an acceptable argument on the elementary school level, shouldn't it be on the middle school? One thing to note is that this vocal small group that wants the 6th grade annex has been the group that consistently utilizes the middle school the least. I believe also that when the Garden Hills Latino community moves into the 6th feeder middle school, they get lost. I think if you put them with Jackson and Sarah Smith at the current Sutton campus, we could come up with some great ideas to benefit the whole community. Things that would promote learning, appreciation, and encouragement rather than the negativity that seems to prevail now. We need to promote their learning while realizing that not speaking English is a huge disadvantage, obviously, and that has to be taken into account. There have to be better ways to do this, and I think it can only take place in a smaller feeder school environment, whether it's the current Sutton campus or the current North Atlanta campus. I was thinking of a possible wing focusing solely on ESOL so that this, okay, a lot more, but thank you for your time, but please consider the 2 middle school option.
Ms. Ashley Mitchell, and Ms. Mitchell will be followed by Ellen Buechner.
All right, good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And while I appreciate the thoughtfulness of creating a consistent feeder pattern and repurposing schools that are slated for closure, I think the recommendation to close Cohen and make it a 6th grade academy for Inman is illogical and insulting. It's insulting because you're sending the neighborhood children who already go there to a school farther away and completely out of their neighborhood. And then you let another school use their building for overflow. If Inman is so overcrowded and Cohen is so under capacity, why not redraw the lines to include more children from the school that's overcrowded rather than close the school and bus current students someplace else? I think it defies all logic to remove Cohen children and let Inman use Cohen facilities. If that's the case, why can't they go to school together in the first place? Now it's all right for people to cross the horrible, impassable barrier of DeKalb Avenue to send their children to the Cohen building, just not the Cohen students. It seems as if the guiding principles were thrown out the window for Cohen Middle School. Walkability to King? No. Recognize community and partner investments such as Cohen School Community Clinic, Emory University, Families First, and the Zeiss Foundation, our lovely community garden? No. There is strong support around Cohen whether people choose to believe it or not. It seems as if politics has shaped this recommendation rather than logic. So I urge Dr. Davis and this board to reconsider the recommendation and not close Cohen Middle School, but figure out some type of merge or redrawing of lines that does not remove children from their neighborhood and implant students from another. I vehemently oppose the closure of Cohen Middle School as it allows APS to continue on the path of educational disinvestment in the Edgewood neighborhood.
Hello, my name is Ellen Bittner, and I'm a proud parent of a second grader at Timber Elementary who is there by transfer. And I am speaking about all the changes that will happen to Kirkwood and Eastlake next year alone. You will close Eastlake Elementary. You will combine Toomer with Eastlake, so that's elementary school level, change to those two neighborhoods. You will close Cohen and send us to a completely different middle school 4 miles away. And then we will, that community will have to change high school and go to a new high school during transition year. How can that be fair to ask those two communities to take all of those changes in 1 year? That hardly seems fair. But if you're going to implement that, I want to know, what is your plan to combine Toomer and Eastlake? Do you have a plan in place to make sure that it's a successful transition? We want to know that the resources will be there for that plan. And the combination of Cone and King, it being IB, is it going to be Chinese, which is what we have at Toomer now? Is that the plan? Do you have a plan in place to combine those schools? I just don't understand how all of those changes can take place, to those two communities. And also, why do you generally only have one middle school per high school? Middle school is the toughest time in kids' lives, and to have such large middle schools, to me, is not logical. I think it would be better to have 2 feeder middle schools into a high school. I understand the cluster concept. I think that's a great concept. But having such large middle schools where it's harder for parents to have that input when they're further away is hard for me to understand. So I just would ask that you look again at what you're doing to those two neighborhoods all in 1 year. It just seems like a lot.
Maggie Stewart, and Stewart will be followed by Rebecca Wallace.
Hi, I'm Maggie Stewart. I'm a longtime homeowner and resident in the Kirkwood neighborhood, and I am a proud mother of a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. So far, with each round of the redistricting process, I look at the options for Kirkwood. They have included destroying our neighborhood by splitting it down the middle for zoning purposes, and almost always rezoning our high school students from a high-performing high school to a lower-performing high school, a high school that is not yet ready to accommodate us and will most likely take hours of busing each day while the building is ready. Each round is worse and worse for our kids in Kirkwood. Every round I think, well, at least it can't get any worse for our kids in the next round, and I have been amazed at how wrong I am in that thought. This plan ensures that no children of Kirkwood will benefit from the redistricting, and in fact, it actually ensures that all of the children in Kirkwood are harmed. I live 1.5 miles from Cone Middle School, but 4.27 miles from King Middle School, the new proposed middle school for Kirkwood. You're giving our middle school, Cohen, well, what was Cohen, to the Inman Middle School community and shutting us out, making us drive by the former Cohen to get to our new school. Further, you're harming the children closest geographically to Cohen, Kirkwood, Edgewood, and Eastlake, by denying us access to the middle school in our own backyard, which very well may still remain open in some form, just not to us. The student population of Cohen is 99.1% free and reduced lunch. King is 93.1%. Busing Kirkwood and Eastlake and Edgewood to King is concentrating poverty, and it will not improve the education of those children in either of those schools. You're creating a mega low-income middle school, and that is unacceptable to us. Let's face it, those schools have problems. They are struggling. We need to fix them, but this is not the way. During the public input period following the release of the demographer's maps, Kirkwood stood up and told APS to invest in the future, invest in Cohen. We made it clear that our parents and community are committed to Cohen and improving it. We challenged APS to work with us on the project, to help us turn Cohen around and make it a neighborhood school that we could embrace. But that is not what's happening. And additionally, in addition to giving Cohen away, you're kicking us out of Grady High School where we've been, where we want to stay. And it's not just because you say there's no room at Grady, you're adding more elementary schools to the Grady cluster. Giving away our middle school, taking away our high school. I know it's redistricting and everybody has to go somewhere else, but we're giving more than everybody. It seems like the wealthier and louder communities are getting exactly what they want for their children, and our children are being left behind. So I'm mad at the suggestion that you've given us, and I want you to right the wrong that this proposal is. Don't try to bus our children off and ignore them and try to sweep them under the carpet. Thank you.
Rebecca Wallace. Wallace will be followed by Jeremy Nix and then Katie Morey.
I'm Rebecca Wallace, and I'm actually not here to talk about redistricting. I'm here to talk about Atlanta Farm to School. We are APS students, parents, farmers, foodies, and other community stakeholders that want fresh, local food in our children's cafeterias as well as our curriculum. And I got a few members with me here. Actually, Cameron Stevens here on the right. Cameron Stevens might look familiar to you. He is currently a cool kid on the APS website. He looks a little different than he does in the picture that New York Times took because he left his carrot suit at home. But he's often found in the carrot suit in our at our farmers markets. We're here because Farm to School is a growing movement. Currently, there are more than 2,000 programs in all 50 states, including at least 35 right here in Georgia. Last year, Georgia schools, including Atlanta Public Schools, served more than 3 million meals that included fresh local food. In 2010, Georgia Organic staffed a task force to look at how we can make Farm to School happen for APS. Dr. Marilyn Hughes was a valuable task force member, attending all our meetings over the year and sharing the exciting things already going on in our schools. Last year, 10 APS teachers from Toomer and Burgess Peterson Academy participated in a semester-long Farm to School workshop series with Georgia Organics. These teachers learned how to incorporate food, gardening, and nutrition education in their standard-based lesson plans, and they showcased those lesson plans to the school communities. We have school gardens cropping up everywhere, including Cohen, and as well as a few salad bars. Atlanta Farm to School wants to build on this momentum. We have held a number of events in the effort to raise awareness of the potential for APS, and we already have more than 200 members on our email list and 400 followers on Facebook. This community has all the resources and activism that can make APS a model for Farm to School. We have a multitude of community gardens and nearby farms. We have available land to grow urban farms. We have celebrity chefs in our community that want to get involved. We have philanthropies like the Atlanta Falcons Youth Foundation that are waiting to provide financial resources. And we've informed volunteers like us and many others that aren't here tonight that are ready and able to work with you on things like bringing Farm to School into the district wellness policy, which is currently under revision, or up for revision. Research shows that information to children alone does not change behavior, but hands-on experiential learning like growing, tasting, and cooking fresh food, that kind of learning will change kids' behavior for a lifetime. You've heard the sad statistics that Georgia is ranked the second highest state for childhood obesity in the nation, and you know that the majority of APS kids are at or under the poverty line. With Farm to School, we have a huge opportunity to educate kids about choosing healthier foods at school and at home, and making life changes that could ultimately save their lives. Our next event is March 26th, when Atlanta Farm to School will join the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition to welcome Sarah Salo to Atlanta. Sarah is biking all over the country to promote Farm to School, and we hope you from the Atlanta Board of Education would attend the event and come find out more about us. Thank you.
Mr. Nix, Jeremy Nix. Oh.
It's Jenny next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Hi, I'm an E. Rivers parent and a resident of the Underwood Hills neighborhood, and we'd like to say thank you for listening and leaving our neighborhood and the E. Rivers School. We fully support the superintendent's recommendations for SRT4. We're relieved that we have a place to go while our school is being rebuilt, and we have just a few requests that we would like for you to consider. We would like for the plans for E. Rivers to be created as quickly as possible and for the capacity studies to be completed to make sure that the school can be built to the 792 child capacity. We'd also like to know if for some reason it happens that that can't be done, are there options? What if there's a snag or a problem with the site? Is there a backup plan for us? At other meetings, mentions were made of traffic studies in cooperation with the surrounding neighborhoods. We want to make sure that those are addressed. I have something else to talk about that another parent brought up, and it seems like a minor issue, but we had to work really hard last year to even get a bus to come down our street in Underwood Hills. And I left repeated messages with the transportation department. They didn't answer the phone. They didn't return messages. I even got hung up on by some of them. Our bus that comes down our street now is not on the official route because someone was not willing to do that for us. With all the major changes happening in the city, transporting our children to new and different locations is a very important part of this process. It's been such a difficult, tedious process. We appreciate your attention and hard work, but please make sure the important, what seem like small details, do not fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to take a brief break from our community meeting and just make recognition that March is National Social Work Month. And my colleagues and I want to thank the school system social workers. We understand that there are 34 APS employees who are full-time social workers working with our students. And while not all of them can be here this evening, we do have 3 representatives we would like to acknowledge. Shamika Allen from Crib Open Campus High School, Janice Bernstein from Brandon Elementary, and Lewis Childers from M.A. Jones Elementary. Join me in recognizing and thanking your social workers for the hard work they do for our students. Thank you both very much for being here this evening. We appreciate the work that you do. Thank you.
We will continue with Katie Murray, and Ms. Murray will be followed by Corey Honore.
Good evening. My name is Katie Morey, and I'm the parent of students at Morris Brandon Elementary School and Sutton Middle School. I want to thank APS Superintendent Davis, the board, and APS staff regarding the time and thoughtfulness which is being taken regarding school redistricting and closures. The feedback I have heard today from parents regarding Superintendent Davis's preliminary redistricting and closure recommendations has been well received in our area. I especially applaud you for putting all Sutton Middle School students on the current North Atlanta High School campus, as this is a fiscally responsible decision when there is enough capacity at this school, and it allows E. Rivers, an elementary school in our district, a safe place to house all of their students during the rebuilding of their school. My request tonight is that before you make your final decision, and while you're placing priority on projects needed to accomplish your objective, that you take note of Superintendent Davis's earlier comment made today to be thoughtful regarding what expansion or building construction is done such that we have adequate facilities which can help us escalate student achievement, especially having gym access. I would like to invite all board members and the APS staff to visit the Morris Brandon Primary, which currently does not have a gym. It was built as a primary center with an auditorium that serves as a multi-purpose room or gym. Our main campus has a gym, but no auditorium. Yet this elementary school serves almost 1,200 elementary school students, the largest elementary school in the APS district. Please come and visit our 2 campuses while classes are in session and see the limitations that this causes. For many years, we've lived with portables on our campus to relieve overcrowding, and only 3 years ago, we went through redistricting when we added a primary campus to our school with assurances from APS that it would be a long-term solution and that if we continue to grow, that you would build us a gym, multi-purpose classrooms, and 5 classrooms. I respectfully request that while you go through this process, please consider for all schools giving them a long-term solution which escalates student achievement. I understand that SPLOST money is not fully available in July, but please be thoughtful on how to utilize cash flow to achieve your objective. I also ask that while doing construction, please consider alternate energy sources such as solar panels on buildings where you can invest in capital, and then this would relieve or offset future operating costs. Thank you again for your time. I sincerely appreciate the job that you have done and that you have before you. Thank you so much for everything.
Corey Honore, and Ms. Honore will be followed by Melody Harclerode. I'm trying with the name.
Good evening. My name is Corey Honore, and I'm a proud parent in the Old Fourth Ward. I want to thank the superintendent and staff for their hard work. We are very glad to see the Old Fourth Ward with full inclusion in Inman Middle School. This is our rightful place, and we request that the board support this part of the proposal. We are also happy to see Hope Hill remaining open. However, we were quite disappointed that one area that we consistently message on was not addressed in this particular proposal. This is the hypersegregation of low-income minority children at Hope Hill. This current proposal fills Hope Hill almost to capacity with Title I students. That's at least 92% at the poverty level. Sure, the kids might get more administrative resources, but you have compounded the problem of isolation of poverty within this plan. The plan does split the Cook population up between neighborhoods, but coincidentally, the location of most of the poorer students are all coming to Hope Hill, whereas the other ones are going to the other elementary schools. I ask that the board consider how much better served these children would be in a more diverse environment at an early age. Why wait until they're 11 years old? Start diversity at age 5 when a child's mind is open. They are confident at that age and not worried about the pressures of life. They are eager to learn and eager to make friends with just about anybody. Don't isolate these children only to introduce them to new cultures and ways of life as a preteen, one of the most vulnerable and difficult stages of life. Don't send those kids to middle schools where they will be unprepared and unfamiliar with how to succeed at a high-performing school. Don't send these poor children to an environment where they will inevitably be shunned because they are not understood and where they are probably feared. We are in a good situation to provide this because, as I understand, the Cook community has publicly expressed their desire to go to Parkside. Also, we know that Parkside has the room to take them there. This will also give Hope Hill the opportunity to have room for Old Fourth Ward families to attend Hope Hill and also for Hope Hill to be able to have a diverse population. I ask the board to prioritize diversifying the population at Hope Hill to make for a stronger grading cluster. We have neighbors currently suffering from overcrowding. Today, the superintendent mentioned the, quote, worst case scenario for dealing with the overcrowding at Springdale Park would be to send those children to newly built classrooms at Mary Lynn. Well, respectfully, Superintendent Davis, if that's your worst case scenario, let me give you a suggestion for a best case scenario. Old Fourth Ward parents welcome any overcrowded schools within our cluster to come to Hope Hill. With Old Fourth Ward parents and our neighbors, we could truly make for a diversified Hope Hill Elementary School. Thank you very
Ms. Harclerode, and Ms. Harclerode will be followed by Kelly Trotter and Priscilla Borders.
Great. My name is Melody Harclerode. I am an E Rivers parent as well as a Berkeley Park resident. On behalf of Berkeley Park and E Rivers Elementary, I would like to express my sincere thanks to Superintendent Davis, Nancy Meister for meeting with us, and the Board of Commissioners as well as demographers for the recommendations to keep E Rivers Elementary School and the SRT4 boundaries intact. We are grateful that you listened and responded to our concerns. We're appreciative that the temporary location for E Rivers remains in SRT4 so that our school can stay strong and vibrant and be the wonderful, diverse school that it is now. We're also grateful, I'm also grateful in terms of the future option for a 6th grade academy. I believe that Sutton is a wonderful school, and to listen to the parents at Sutton in terms of having the 6th grade academy, I'm grateful for that. I'd also like to speak to you not only as an E Rivers parent, but as an architect. I ask you to explore alternatives to the complete demolition of E Rivers. Of course, we want to expand the capacity of the school. We want to be sure that we are able to house the 792 students that the demographer has indicated for the site. But I want you to recognize that E. Rivers is an architecturally significant building in the city of Atlanta. Even though it's a little worn and people will complain about a lot of features about it, this building, decades ago when it was built, was in national magazines. It was lauded for its progressive design, for being an international style building, and that means in terms of minimalist exposure of beams and steel, or beams and columns, that this idea of large sheets of windows in corridors and in classrooms, that's something now that we embrace. You know, just a decade or two ago, you know, people were thinking this idea of like windows were evil. You know, but now we say looking out, sunlight is healthy, and E. Rivers was cutting edge. That's what it was described for at its time, cutting edge. So just like we now are laugh at the idea that at one time we considered demolishing the Fox Theater, I hope that decades from now we don't look at E. Rivers and say, what a mistake. Look at the train depot downtown, how that was demolished. Please, if you can, consider just the demolition of one wing, perhaps two, but preserve some of E. Rivers. I love it. Thank you.
Ms. Kelly Trotter, and Ms. Trotter will be followed by Priscilla Borders.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, members of the board, good evening. I want to thank you, Mr. Davis, for providing a process where feedback has been encouraged and utilized. Although painful at times for you and for us, it has been necessary and continues to be effective. Thank you. On behalf of the Northeast Brandon neighborhoods, I want to say thank you. We are pleased with your recommendation of no boundary changes for Brandon or any other school in our cluster. We are equally pleased with your recommendation to keep one middle school in our cluster. I thank you for the extraordinary amount of time and effort you all and the staff has put into this process and that you will continue to do over the coming months. Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Priscilla Borders. Ms. Borders will be followed by Billy Hungling.
Good evening. Nice to see you all again. Priscilla Borders, parent of a kindergartner at Hope Hill Elementary School and resident of Old Fourth Ward. First of all, I would like to thank you for keeping our last traditional school of Hope Hill open and for recognizing Hope Hill as part of the feeder feeding into the Grady cluster. However, I request you consider not merging Cook with Hope Hill. Such a merger would create a composition of students very distinct from any other school in the Northeast sector. A school of such dynamics, a school of overwhelming minority lower socioeconomic students, would simply perpetuate the existing segregation of our students at the elementary school level. As with any community, we want parity at the elementary school level, which allows our students equal and quality education and preparation of their transitioning and matriculating to the middle school and high school. Far too long, the community of Hope Hill has been relegated to an isolated status whereby the students are estranged from their counterparts at the very time when inclusion is warranted. Accordingly, we ask you to consider incorporating diversity not evident by a merger with Cook and full inclusion of Hope Hill beginning at the elementary school level, which allows the children of Grady cluster to interact and socialize beginning at kindergarten and continuing to 12th grade. I thank you for your consideration of these matters.
Mr. Billy Hunging and Mr. Shakir will be next.
Hi, my name is Billy Hungling, and I'm the father of a newborn in the Old Fourth Ward. I also want to thank Superintendent Davis for his recommendation that Hope Hill be finally included in the Inman Grady cluster. I'd also like to reiterate the concerns of my neighbors Corey and Priscilla about the concentration of poverty at Hope Hill. By merging it with Cook, you'll be making it an even larger percentage of free and reduced lunch students there. But also from a financial perspective, As was stated earlier, we don't have a problem at the capacity at the elementary school level. We have a problem at the middle school level. It seems to make financial sense to me to expand the borders of Hope Hill to the north and to east, which would help diversify the socioeconomic profile of Hope Hill, as well as relieving the costly and disruptive burden of expanding at our neighborhood schools. So I think this money that could be saved at the elementary school level can then be spent at the middle school level where it's truly needed, doing something like building out the David T. Howard movement. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shakir will be followed by Sally Allrock.
Ron Shakir. I attended Southwest High School. I remember Coyne Middle School. They was our stiffest competition. Southwest had a winning tradition, but Coyne seemed like they would always put it to us. And the children from that school, they tracked to Murphy. Murphy's closed now. We all are parents. We all have parents. And we all should care about children, whether we have them or not. I had trailers, like I said, at Southwest High. And right now, we have to look at the fact that our neighborhoods have been reshaped. We have just spoke about Coyne. And the fact is that certain people were ran out. It has been fashionable for large populations of African Americans to be centered and focused on and ran out of their communities. Big eyes have looked at African Americans, institutions, and school and communities, and because it was easy to create a political environment of degrading those particular communities, those communities have been ran out. I would say simply, no school closing. I would say simply, let's slow down the process. Let's stop the closing of schools right now. How can we come up here from North Atlanta and say we are happy with the superintendent's decision? When we see so many schools being targeted and closed on the south side. Let's not be selfish. Let's be one Atlanta. Let's support all children, and let's support all local schools. Are we prepared? Are we ready to see the No Child Left Behind and effects of it? Are we prepared to ignore the needs of those children when we have an opportunity to look at those schools and give them 3 teachers in the classroom if they need to? But for sure, if our schools only consist of 5 and 10 children in those classrooms, let's give them everything they need. And let every community support that. I would say to North Atlanta, changes are in the wind. But let's just slow it down and you look back. And you ask yourself, is it fair for me to continue investing in hundreds and thousands of dollars of rebuilding schools and building new schools when we're closing down schools on South Atlanta? Let's be one Atlanta.
Allrock will be followed by Earl Williamson, and then Miss Julie Neighbors. Miss Allrock.
Good evening. As they said, my name is Sally Alcock. But that's okay. I've been called worse. I'm a 13-year resident of Kirkwood, of the Kirkwood neighborhood. I've been volunteering at Toomer Elementary School now for almost 10 years. I've been a PTA member at Toomer for almost 10 years. And my child just started pre-K at Toomer this year. Kirkwoodians, we knew that we were being hit on 2 fronts with the demographics, elementary and the high school front. We knew that we would probably be combining with another elementary school, which we found out is Eastlake, and we're fine with that. And we knew that we were possibly going to be kicked out of our current high school, Grady High School. Nowhere did I anticipate that we would be losing our neighborhood middle school. And I was shocked to receive that news late last night. Not only to be kicked out of it, but for it to be given to another neighborhood altogether for 6th grade students in order to alleviate their overcrowding. That is insulting to our neighborhood. It's insulting to Kirkwood, to Eastlake, to Edgewood, to the Burgess-Peterson neighborhoods, to East Atlanta. Then I learned this morning at a meeting that this was possibly just a short-term fix for the other school. That's doubly offensive, kicking us out of our school for a short-term gain for the other person. I would like for you all to think about using our neighborhood middle school not just for short-term gains, for long-term gains. Several of our community schools have unfairly suffered because of the APS cheating scandal, and we have worked very hard as neighborhoods to get past that. And we feel that we are being punished for APS's mistakes by being removed from Grady High School. In addition, it looks like our communities that have higher socioeconomic diversity and higher racial diversity are being pushed out of Grady and other schools. And now we're being pushed out of our own neighborhood schools. One thing that we've also been asking for many years is for all of Kirkwood to be included in Kirkwood schools. There's still 2 blocks to the east and to the west of our neighborhood which are not zoned for neighborhood schools. This is a tiny portion of our neighborhood. We would like to see all of Kirkwood zoned for Kirkwood schools. Do not take our resources from our community and give it to another community, so that that community can stay status quo. We want you to invest in our neighborhood. We want you to invest in the future. Don't just invest in success, invest in Cohen. Invest in the future.
Mr. Williamson will be followed by Julie Neighbors and Trina Valerie.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Earl Williamson, registered nurse. I am chair of Neighborhood Planning Unit O and a long-term resident of Kirkwood and active past president of the Kirkwood Neighbors Organization. I cannot imagine a less practical and more unfair to children proposal than closing Coleman Middle School to the communities it now serves, with no reason but to lighten the burden of others further away. You would be closing Cohen Middle School to an increasingly diverse and eclectic student body, which is representative of the neighborhoods it serves, and replacing that student body with a narrowly selected, homogeneous, and unrepresentative student body not the least reflective of the surrounding community. You would be forcing students who now walk to school from Cohen's neighborhoods to be bused past what in a more functional plan would be their school as it is now, instead to travel 5 miles away across the interstate to a location in no way walkable to them. We'd be disenfranchising those individuals, organizations, and neighborhoods deeply and increasingly invested in Cohen Middle School and its value to its communities, APS, and Atlanta. This includes the Edgewood, Eastlake, Kirkwood, and Villages of Eastlake neighborhoods, as well as Emory University, the Zeiss Foundation, Southeast Horticulture and Cone Learning Garden, the Cone Health Clinic, and many other organizations, individuals, and institutions investing in this neighborhood-based middle school. Closing Cone ends their investment for a reason that is not clear to us at this point. Nothing, absolutely nothing that I've personally seen in the public input to date, the demographic data to date, and 2 sets of maps and the demographer's recommendations support in any way the closure of Cone Middle School. This decision must be data-driven, and the data clearly and unequivocally support the preservation of Cone Middle School and argues for a continued and expanded investment in Cone Middle School by APS to match that of Cone's communities and the organizations supporting it. Thank you very much.
Ms. Julia Neighbors, and Ms. Neighbors will be followed by Trina Valerie.
Good evening. My name is Julia Neighbors. I'm a longtime resident of the Owen Ward. I'm here to specifically speak about the middle school piece regarding the Grady cluster. I first want to applaud the leadership it took to recognize that Inman is the rightful neighborhood middle school for Hope Hill and the Old Fourth Ward community, and for righting the wrong that has historically and systematically been imposed on our community when it comes to our education opportunities. I also want to applaud the proposal that ensures that Hope Hill and the Old Fourth Ward community attends Inman in August of this year. I also support the use of the 6th grade annex to accomplish full inclusion and manage immediate capacity issues, although I am troubled by the notion of displacing another community from its rightful school. And while I do support the immediate inclusion of our community in the Inman Middle School cluster, I still believe that the Howard building is a viable long-term solution, and I certainly don't want that to be taken off the table. But I do want to make sure that it's very clear that the Fourth Ward supports immediate inclusion in August of this year. My hope at the end of the day, recognizing this is a terribly difficult process, is that the recommendations accomplish full inclusion for Old Fourth Ward and Inman and Grady are maintained and implemented this school year. Thank you.
Ms. Trina Valerie.
The topic has been covered. She's relinquishing her time.
Who's she giving her time to?
Well, she's passing on her.
Okay. Victory Turpin. And Ms. Turpin will be followed by Nathaniel Dyer. Is that Turpin? Dyer? And again, I'll ask when I call one name, I'll call the other name, and we'll have you come up. Is that Turpin?
It's Turpin.
Okay. And then Turpin will be followed by Nathaniel Dyer.
My name is Victory Turpin, but today I'm going to yield my time to Mr. Nathaniel Dyer.
Okay, Mr. Dyer will have 6 minutes.
The North is expanding, building, and growing, but the South is crumbling. Thanks to you. What have you given us? Cheating scandal? No stability. What happened to building credibility and making great decisions like this? What happened to taking the time to reassess where you are as a board, instead of moving forward making decisions on the backs of young people? I think it's totally ridiculous. The first maps that you sent out, and I'm going to deal with the area around, I guess, Vine City, Washington Park, that area, was a total slap in the face to the community. Close, 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 close. Ship them over there. Are we still in Jim Crow? Are we in Jim Crow? Because I'm telling you, as a group collectively, you should have said to yourselves, this is not going to fly. Somebody's really going to get peed off about this. But then let's consider the young people who just went through the worst cheating scandals in U.S. history. What about stabilizing their lives? I did not see one campaign saying, it's not your fault. You're great.
Right.
Put millions of dollars behind that. Right. Now we have an opportunity with small school size to really bring those young people up to par.
Yes.
Put some money in that situation. Table this situation at least 2 years. Because I'm going to tell you like this. I'm glad Beverly Hall is gone. But the thing is, her legacy lives on. Her legacy lives on because I believe those democracies came under her administration. What type of credibility does that administration have to make any type of decision?
Good question.
Take it and throw it in the trash. Right now you're creating a civil war. I can understand the feelings from the North. Have to send their kids over to the South. Right. Because they know what you're giving us.
Right.
Let me break it down. No art classes. Little to no extracurricular activities. Subs in math and science for an entire year. Suspensions at will. Hostile attitudes toward parents. Pieces breakfast every day for the children. For lunch. I ask you, take some time. What's the rush? 2 years minimum. It seems overwhelming that the decision is, hey, we're not ready for this. How do you combine a cheating scandal, redistricting, then moving schools? I'm going to just say this. I cannot remember one thing that APS has done that's been successful towards young people. I cannot remember anything, at least on the South Side. Let's just be real. Now, we voted you guys in because we felt like you had the children's hearts and souls in mind. But you're showing total disregard at this point in time. Total disregard. I think you talked about 60,000 seats, 47,000 students. Those young people have personalities, souls, visions, which equate to a great future if we take time to recognize that.
Take time, man. Take time.
Have we talked to the young people about this situation? Do you even care about how they feel? Do you think they want to move around from school to school? Let's take one scenario. A child's school was part of the cheating scandal. That principal was fired. Interim principal comes in. That's 2 changes. Now they're moving to another school, 3 changes within the span of a year and a half. How fair is that? And then you're moving them without any type of campaign saying, oh, we're not closing the school down because it was part of the cheating scandal. Oh, we're not closing that school down because we don't think you can accomplish great things. No conversation, just ship them off. But then you expect them to excel. AYP, all these different letters. Now we have the opportunity to truly do something right for our young people. Let's get the system stabilized. If you stabilize the system, people probably wouldn't have a big deal about North and South. Because in one school system, shouldn't they all be balanced and level? Balanced and level. Sure you're going to lose a couple of dollars, but look at this incidental that just happened, paying teachers who aren't on the clock $600,000 a month. Now, if they're off the clock and getting paid, let's put something towards our children who are on it every day trying to find a right route to success. Okay?
Right.
So, to sum it up, let's put our young people first. Okay? Let's take an assessment of where they are, where their souls are. Right now, they've been through some tough things. I say, even the schools that didn't cheat are affected because they're part of the same school system. We need to look at them holistically. If one school has art, let the other school have art. If one school has a band, why not the other school have a band? You drive from one side and see just great landscaping, and the other side see trash everywhere. And then you complain about parental involvement. Look, let's work together, table the situation, and move forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, we're going to move on. Morris Mapp, and Mr. Mapp will be followed by Barbara Simpson. Mr. Mapp here. And Mr. Mapp will be followed by Barbara Simpson. Ms. Simpson will be followed by Linda Adams. Mr. Mapp.
Kind of hard to follow. So, I do want to say that I kind of felt disrespected. A meeting was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. It kind of started at 7. But, we're going to focus on what we need to. Right now, I want to know what is the end goal. So you do all these different things as far as like closing 13 schools, but what exactly is the end goal? You stated in your report that you're going to provide a rigorous curriculum, but I'm looking for basically what are the steps to provide a rigorous curriculum. You can't just give me words on paper. My thought is be true to what you said on paper, so give me focus. So I'm not just stopping there. He talked about, Mr. Dyke talked about parental involvement, my apologies. But I don't really see it because it's never really mandated in the school system. If you can have a person stop at the stop sign, you can have parents come into the school system. I mean, mandated. So it's really up to our board, it's really up to our government, it's up to us. I mean, but that's just my thought of it. All right, so we also say that we have the best interest of the children, but at the same time, you're closing schools and packing classrooms. Is that truly the best interest? When you have 25 students to one teacher, is that truly the best interest? See, in Woodward Academy, you have 2 teachers in the classroom. Do you have that in Atlanta? No. Do you really have the best interest? But you know, I'm definitely going to stop there. I say that I push Parent University, and that's educating the parents to give them the tools that they need inside the schools and the homes. So once you educate the parents, then you'll truly have education. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Barbara Simpson. And again, I'll ask that the next speaker after Ms. Simpson, which is Ms. Linda Adams, to take a seat up front. So Ms. Linda Adams will follow Ms. Barbara Simpson. Ms. Simpson?
Greetings, Superintendent Davis, Chair, Vice Chair, board members,